Report.
Everything's status quo, sir.
Very well. If anyone needs me, I'll be in my ready room.
Hello, and welcome to the Readier Room, the only and longest-running Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. Every week, we're coming at you with an episode from the series and all the behind-the-scenes lore that came together to make it happen. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant of Services at Paramount, and with me is my partner and Head of Resources Management, Brandon Hobbs. Brandon, let me be the first to say, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mitch. That's right. We're coming at you today on Christmas.
The most important day of the year, but still not as important as Star Trek.
Yes, this is what we do for you. In honor of this episode, I ordered some Chinese takeout today.
That's good.
Yeah. I always convince myself somehow that ordering Mushu is a good idea.
Oh, are you a big Mulan fan?
Yeah. That's why I order it. That's where it comes from. That's where the name comes from, actually.
Right. Now,
So,
why would ordering Mushu be a bad idea?
well, it's not a bad idea, but it's never as revolutionary as I think it's going to be.
Okay, it's I see.
Kind of a middling Chinese food.
Right now, would you describe yourself as part of a happy family or not?
No, we're a pretty ambivalent family right now.
Okay, I understand this. I feel this.
But I think the place I ordered from was Happy something.
Happy times?
Maybe Happy Times.
Happy
Maybe
days?
Happy Days.
Yeah. These happy days are yours and mine.
Both rushing to get that one out.
Happy days? Happy days?
Happy Kitchen.
Oh, I see. Now, I imagine Happy Kitchen is like anywhere in the continental United States. It's a Chinese restaurant where it's constantly riding that line of food that tastes good to eat, but is too disgusting to look at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you go there to pick up your order one time, and you see that there's just a bunch of rats living in the kitchen, and you're like, oh, is this putting my appetite off enough?
And the food is always like you take the first bite and it tastes really good, and then as you continue eating it, I would say it's almost the counter to the Japanese umami.
Okay.
It's like the Chinese takeout bad version of that, where there's this underlying flavor that as you continue to eat it, you just notice more and more until you get sick and either throw up or stop eating it.
Right, and of course that underlying flavor is not at all like food, you know?
No.
It's like, oh man, I can really taste the wok, the metal of the wok.
The rats that stepped through the food as it was being cooked.
The sweat and tears that went into it. Literally.
Probably some blood too.
Yeah, it's like, man, my wonton soup really tastes like sweat and tears.
Well, it usually actually does.
That's true. Now, what's your favorite item if you in the generalized Chinese takeout? What's your favorite item?
The Chinese takeout universe.
Yeah,
I would probably say crab rangoon.
Now, what exactly is a rangoon?
I don't know.
Jesus. Well,
It sounds like a Star Wars alien.
it does. If I had
Hold
to
on.
choose a favorite thing while you're looking that up, it might just be pork fried rice, to be honest, but you know, I'm pretty basic. I do like the General's chicken, but only if it's crispy. If it's not crispy, I send it back.
Yeah, I don't know why these are called rangoons.
Well, Can you make
Rangoon is a city in Myanmar.
You mean Burma? Anyway,
Sure.
Can you make rangoons of other meats, of other things?
Well, no, there's no crab in it.
Right. Well, that's what I'm asking. Is a rangoon specifically a crab dish?
No, it's got to be. No, there's no crab in it.
Like you said, crab rangoon.
Yeah, but it's called a crab rangoon. I mean, someone might put crab in it at some point, but usually it's just cream cheese inside.
Inside of what?
Inside of the pastry. It's like a pastry.
Oh, it's a pastry?
It's a fried pastry.
I see. Now, do you think...
know this? Stop.
I don't know this.
Really? You've never had a crab rangoon before?
Never. Ever.
Wow.
Now, cream cheese in and of itself is kind of gross.
No, I think it's delicious.
Well, I know what you think. I'm just telling you the truth.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of people's reaction to crab rangoons. They're kind of a divisive food stuff.
I like stuff. I don't like food, which is why I like Chinese food so much.
Food makes you fat.
Food does make you fat, and fat makes you sad.
Mm-hmm.
So via the transitive property, food makes you sad.
The picture for crab rangoons on the Japanese Wikipedia is really disgusting looking.
Why do you use the Japanese Wikipedia?
Sometimes I just like to see what they have to say.
Also, send me that picture.
Yeah, I'm sending it to you right now. Look at it.
Oh my god, this looks like just fried chicken skin.
It's like an undefined pile of fried something.
Yes.
There's no shape to it.
It's just unseasoned. Completely unappetizing. Well, I mean, that reinforces my image of never eating this fucking thing.
Well, no, because they can look good. Here, I'll show you a good one.
Alright. Make sure you post these to the Readier Room Twitter account so everyone can follow along at home.
Of course.
It'll be right above the picture
photos
of the
on
cloaca I posted for our last week's episode.
See, these are a little more attractive.
Yeah, this looks like food. I mean, there's a dipping sauce. They're clearly, like, arranged. They're folded.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the framing of the picture makes sense. It's not just a crime scene photo like the other one.
The lighting really does make it look like a crime scene photo.
It does.
It's like overly exposed.
Yep. You need just like a comical chalk outline around these rangoons. Or those little yellow placards with the numbers on them. It's like, oh, this is the first piece of evidence. Yeah. A lot of fun. A lot of fun with this photo that you guys cannot see. Anyway. I don't know if you've noticed, but if I'm going to come clean here, I'm feeling a bit under the weather today.
Yeah, we're all sorry to hear that, Mitch.
I'm below the weather.
And look at you, you're still doing your duty as an admiral.
Yes. You cannot show weakness to your crew, but in this moment I am candid because it is just you and I.
Right.
Yes. I will persevere. Now, they said you can't go out in public if you're sick. You can't not wear a mask when you're sick. You can't cough on people's food. And to that I say, I believe this was America last I checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that usually works.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, it does.
Because those damn libs, they're weak.
They got those weak arms.
They're cowardly.
They're craven.
Like the Spider-Man villain?
The Hunter?
Yeah. I'm surprised you knew that.
Yeah, I have somewhat of a familiarity with Spider-Man's rogues gallery. Like, there's this old Vulture man called the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
There's both Shocker and Electro, which is insane to me, but that is what that is.
There's a lot of goblins too.
Yeah, mind goblins. There's the Green Goblin, the Hobgoblin, and I think like a mix of the two. Because it's
Yeah.
Harry Osmond is the
Harry Osmond.
he's the Hobgoblin.
Harry Joel Osmond.
And Norman Osmond is the Green Goblin. It's a father-son kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a family business.
Although I believe that the spirit of the Green Goblin possesses the Hobgoblin.
I'm sure that happens at some point.
Now, there's also Mysterio, who's not so mysterious, but he's around.
He creates mysteries.
Yeah, he's got a big dome helmet, like a sex weirdo,
Like an astronaut.
Yeah. And there's tons more. There's a rhino. There's a lizard. There's a guy made of sand. Sand guy. Sandman. I don't think any of these villains are particularly interesting.
No, not really.
But when your hero is a human spider, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, everything else has to be animal themed.
Yes, indeed it does. And then you have Kingpin, who's just a big fat guy.
Yeah.
The most sinister villain of all.
An overweight man, an obese man. Oh,
Truly,
the chills just thinking about it.
Truly, exploring the realms of fantasy with that one. It's like, oh, this guy's so big he needs 2 chairs to sit down.
And he's very dangerous.
The naivete of
he's
1960s. He's he can run a business.
Oh man. Yeah. How about the Iron Patriot?
I'm sorry. You mean Captain America?
No, the Iron Patriot. It's what Norman Osborn takes over the Iron Man identity and becomes the Iron Patriot.
Hold on. I have to look this up. The Iron Patriot. This is a real thing.
Yep.
I mean, it's a real fictional thing, but an amalgam of Iron Man and Captain America. This says nothing about Norman Osborn. Oh yeah.
It's literally a subheading is Norman Osborn.
Whatever. Well, I guess this is all true. Now, here's a question. When do you use the word fictional versus the word fictitious?
I don't know. Aren't they synonyms?
Yeah, but why would you make that? Why would you make that synonym?
For someone who knows a decent amount of Japanese, you really have no problem asking a question like that?
Well, I mean, I do know a lot of Japanese. This is true. So I'm just gonna hang my hat on that and not comprehend your question.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is that they have ridiculous synonyms that don't need to exist too, like a lot of them, right?
Yeah, that's true, but I don't critique another person's culture. Just
I
my
guess
own.
that would be white splaining.
It is white splaining. All right, we have a question of the week this week, unlike the other weeks, where we don't have a question. But this week's question of the week comes from Nicholas at the North Pole, I guess some kind of a scientist of some sort, who asks, "Hello, Admirals. I hope you're having a lovely holiday season. My question is, what did you two get each other for Christmas? Checking you twice, Nicholas." That was very strange. But I appreciate the sentiment of the question, Nick. But it fails to account for one thing, which is that both of us work in Hollywood, right? Right, Brandon?
Right, yes.
And as such, we celebrate Hanukkah instead of Christmas. Mm-hmm. Inshallah. Now, Hanukkah is, I guess, for the Gentiles out there, Hanukkah is quite the storied holiday in that it's not just one day. How many days is it?
It's 7 days.
It's 7 days, and one for each day of the week. And what do you do on each of the days? What do we do?
You light the menorah. You light the menorah.
Okay, and what's that?
It's the little candle thing.
Yep.
Yep. You light one candle for each day, and you spin the dreidel.
Yep.
Right.
Now, but each day has its own events. Like, I know, I've recently been exploring more of my heritage. But for example, on the first day, everyone sits around in the dark and eats unleavened bread. And that's what you do for the entire day. But then,
I'm sorry, it's 8 days. I said 7, but it's 8 days.
Oh, I mean, give or take a day, right?
Yeah. No, I it's customary for me to spend at least one of those days sleeping the entire day, so I usually lose one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And everyone observes differently. I know a family that for the entire 8-day period, they just do not leave their house at all. And they observe in complete solace.
Yeah, everyone does observe differently. Some people are colorblind.
That's true. That's true. Some people are, similar to dogs in that respect.
Right. And in many other respects.
Yes. Speaking of which, how did you observe...
They don't observe Hanukkah.
Right. Much like dogs.
But, yeah, sorry, I interrupted your question.
I know you had a wild story. I just wanted you to tell everyone what you did for the 4th day of Hanukkah this year.
Oh God, the 4th day of Hanukkah. Don't get me started.
Well, that's actually explicitly what I'm doing to get you started.
Well, you were there.
I was there.
You were there. I mean, as usual. It would be weird if you weren't. We lit the 4th candle. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We spun our dreidel to see what our fortune was.
I remember when I spun the dreidel, I got daikichi.
I was gonna say I got daikichi too. We both got daikichi, so we said, let's do something a little crazy today.
Yeah. Test the boundaries of the luck.
Yeah, we decided to go out, and we got some sake bombs to celebrate. Do you know what a sake bomb is?
Of course I know what a sake bomb is. I was there. But for anyone at home...
I'm wondering if you understood what we were doing.
Well, you take the sake, you drop it into the other thing, and you just drink until you black out. I didn't... To be honest, my recollection of the night isn't as good as yours. I ended up waking up and coming to on the 6th day. So I lost a day there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for anyone who doesn't live in Hollywood, I don't think they're going to really understand just how much of a party city it is.
It's the glitz and the glam and the dazzle.
Yeah, and you come to know people, and they're able to hook you up with certain kinds of substances that let you have even more fun. Right? Like DMT.
Now, I don't know a lot about DMT, but if I remember correctly, you put it into the matzah.
Yes, because everyone was celebrating Hanukkah, right? So you go to someone's house in Hollywood, and it's all Hanukkah, right?
Right.
So we were at our buddy's place after getting hammered. We put the DMT in the matzo ball soup, and we communed with God that day.
I got to know him a little better. Now, what the Gentiles might not know is the God's name in Hebrew, which is Yahweh. And a lot of people, when they hear this for the first time, they say, "No way!" And
right,
and
you're like
Yahweh.
Yeah. And well, here's what God told me.
Okay.
And I've already told you this, but just for the Ensigns. God told me that our Star Trek podcast is the best Trek podcast on the internet of all time.
Yeah, I heard that both from God and Entertainment Weekly.
Mm-hmm. And the Bear as well.
And the Bear.
Yes.
So, through our DMT sucky bomb fueled fourth night of Hanukkah, we got divine approval for our goings.
And we have reawakened anew, and we're doing this podcast with even more vigor now.
Well, emotional vigor. I am quite lacking in the physical vigor department right now.
Right. Yeah. It's mostly emotional vigor.
Yes.
We will have a new shirt. The Readier Room, approved by God.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna debut alongside of our shirt, which is a picture of Worf saying, "The sake bombs are ready, Captain."
Yeah. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, it was a bountiful night for our religious spirit and for our t-shirt business.
Yes. Lots of good ideas. But yeah. So that's where we're at right now, Ensigns. Thank you for your continued support.
Yeah, and thanks, Nick, for the question. Now I will have to shame you a little bit for assuming that we celebrated Christmas, which is just incredibly rude.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some things I always thought the Ensigns were better at.
Right.
Wasn't
Oh,
to
well.
be. Was not to be. But if you're like Nick and you have an insensitive question that you would like to ask us, you can email us at thereadierroom@gmail.com or send us a tweet or a DM on Twitter at the Readier Room. All of these being with a capital T and 2 capital R's. And if we like your question, we'll answer it. If we don't like it, whatever. The bar is low.
Depends on how desperate we are that week.
Yes. So, speaking of desperation, season 3, we're here. We're queer. Used to it. It's time for the Ensigns of Command, which is the name of the second episode of the season. And overall, I haven't asked your opinion on this, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. Overall, pretty good episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Overall, pretty good.
Thank God. You never know.
Yeah.
With this guy.
This is sure to inspire discussion when we both agree on something.
Yeah, we both agree with
Thank God.
With the tepid take of pretty good.
Pretty good. There's a couple stupid things that happen, but overall, it's okay. I thought the title would be like a play on words.
Yes.
Like an ensign would have to take command.
But instead, it's just somewhat nonsensical.
It's just like basically an old version of the word signs. They decided to use for some reason.
Well, you can't just call every episode where silence has lease, because there's already an episode with that title.
Right, you've already stolen that, so you have to steal from something else.
Right.
I have a little bit of a theory about the title that I'll go into later, but
I'm into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, it was a solid episode, good concept. I really liked the idea of having to pull an entire population out of a city that has no kind of frame of reference for the larger universe outside it.
Yeah, and I love the idea of Data's leadership skills, A, being tested, but B, hinging on these non-quantitative factors that he would naturally
totally
struggle with.
Yeah, this episode had really cool character development.
Now,
Which,
yeah?
Oh, I was just gonna say that it was written by Melinda Snodgrass, who seems to love Data episodes. She did Measure of a Man and Pen Pals.
Well, 2/3 of these were good episodes.
Did we dislike Pen Pals?
I don't remember what our reaction was at the time, but my memories of it are not fond.
Not fond. Yeah. I think so too.
Now, here's the thing. This episode does something that becomes more commonplace in Trek, but is kind of standard for television writing, but I was happy to see it, where it has the opening scene. It's not quite a cold open, but not impact the plot, but it reinforces the theme of the episode, and it signals what's going down. And that's kind of standard practice for TV writing in a lot of ways, but it's not something that TNG had done a lot up until this point. And
sure.
that coming in here stuck out to me, and I like it. It's just good structuring.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, definitely. Data being worried about his violin skills.
Right.
And this scene was kind of a happy accident, though, wasn't it? For Data to be in that chair.
It was. It was happy, depending on who you ask. I think the audience would be happy, but not everybody on set was. Like initially, so Brent, he can't play the violin, but Michael Dorn can.
Yeah.
He's quite the violinist. I've heard him play. I've seen him play, and a lot of the violin knowledge in this episode, in this script, and in future episodes of the series comes directly from him. And what he wanted was to kind of be like Frakes. Frakes plays his trombone on set on the show, and he kind of shows off a bit. Michael wanted in on that too, but we got a note from the producers saying that a black violinist was just too far outside the realms of science fiction to suspend the disbelief for. So we had to retool it a bit and give that skill set over to Data, which is what we end up seeing here.
Right.
And I think, it works better this way. We could all agree on that. But not a happy ending for Michael. Maybe he wouldn't necessarily agree, but for the most part.
Yeah, definitely. I think the producers going forward, whenever they had a problem with an African American doing something like this, they would instead insert the word. They would exchange African American for Klingon.
Yes,
it would be silly if there's a Klingon of and in that way you can't really argue with it or get too worked up about it. The unfortunate side effect was that Klingons started being used around set to refer to African Americans in a derogatory way. But
yeah, I can't. Do you remember
stamp that out?
How many times Gene would come visit and he said, "I want all the Klingons off the set now."
Yep.
It was a little awkward.
It was disturbing. Also we have an Irishman playing the cello, which is equally as vexing.
That's true.
It would have probably been more believable if they brought out some bongos for him so he could just wildly smack them like his races want to do.
Well, I think it'd be most believable if they just brought out some alcohol for him to drink.
A wife for him to beat.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, good scene.
It is a good scene. It's a good. It fulfills a purpose inside of.
And
the
you get a little tension with Data thinking that Picard just leaves.
Yes, I love that. There's a lot that's funny to me about that. The idea that Data, this android, can get distracted in that way, where he stops playing.
Right.
Right. It's not he just can't focus on two things at once with his positronic brain. He can't watch Picard leave and keep playing the violin.
It's a little silly, but I'm glad they wrapped it up at the end.
Yeah, it's not silly in a way that detracts, but it is silly. Big silly.
So Picard leaves because he's got to talk to some aliens. What are they called?
The Shellyacs.
The Shellyax.
I think he gets a message from them rather than speaking to them directly.
Yeah. It's like a recorded message telling him that there's a human colony on a planet that belongs to them, and they're gonna blow it up if he doesn't get them off in 3 days.
Right, they're
So-
like squatters.
And the problem is there's so much radiation on the planet and in the atmosphere that all of this ship tech doesn't work conveniently.
Yes.
And also, Data's the only one who can survive going down to the planet.
By virtue of being an android.
Yeah, so it's Data's job to do that.
It's never really adequately explained why these humans have been able to adapt to such a radiated atmosphere.
Yeah. No, it's not. But I also don't really want the answer.
They also bring up the... Oh, never mind. Yeah, who gives a shit?
They conceded that, like, enough of them died for it to be, I don't know. They got lucky.
I guess. It's not really consequential to the plot.
No.
But it's all in service of making Data. Data is the one that must solve this problem. There's no other alternative. Although there is some... I kind of enjoyed the team of O'Brien and Geordi, like, trying to work around this. There's one funny scene much later on in the episode where they're working on the transporting in these conditions. And they're feeling Picard just walks in like a long shot, says, "How's it going?" And they say, "Oh, it's terrible." And Picard says, "Splendid," and walks away.
Like, he's like, "How's it going?" About as well as you'd expect. All right then.
And that's the whole scene, but it was just quickly paced enough to be quite funny.
Yeah, no, it was good.
But when Data gets down there and he finds all this resistance to the notion of evacuation, and he's like, "Oh, well, what if I just tell you guys that you need to evacuate?" And they say no.
Yeah. Like they clearly don't have the frame of reference to understand just how quickly they'd be killed. So Data's kind of battling their ignorance the entire episode, especially what's the leader's name?
Golshevin.
Well, yeah, Goshevin.
Goshevin?
Right? I think it's Goshevin.
I think it's Golshevin.
I think you're thinking of the Bolsheviks.
I was just thinking of the Bolsheviks, but I do believe that this guy's name is Golshevin.
No, it's Goshevin.
There's no L?
There's no L.
All of my notes are wrong. All of them.
Yeah, so he's particularly stubborn about it as the leader, and his voice is also dubbed over.
Yeah, in one of the most obvious cases of
extremely distracting.
Yeah, of ADR in the series, it's every single, and he has quite a heavy presence in the episode, and every scene that he's in, you just can't help but notice it. That's not right.
Yeah.
So with I assume everyone wants an explanation for this. Why would you just hobble your own show by ADRing it like that? Well,
yeah.
You guys haven't heard that actor speak. Very, very thick Eastern European accent. There's some footage of like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his early career when he's just a bodybuilder and how completely nonsensical he is to speak English. And this guy was a lot of the same, in fact. And we knew once production started, we knew it wasn't going to work. I don't even know why we casted that guy, but
yeah, but I mean, by the time we did, we were already running against the clock and the budget, so
yeah, if you don't realize how many resources it takes to do something like an audition, or to whatever. But even just getting through production with this wasn't easy, because acting is not a one-way street. People feed off each other's energy, and when Brent had to act alongside this guy, he just had no idea where this guy was in the script, what he was saying, how he should emote against it.
Right.
I think Brent compared it to working with an animal, like a dog. In case you don't know what an animal is. But it was just
he was a Slav, right? So
exactly. And I want to say that he hurt that guy's feelings, but I'm also not sure if that actor even understood the insult, given where his English was.
Right.
So who knows for sure? But somewhere in the vaults, the original footage without the ADR exists, and it's my sincere hope that we're able to bring it to you guys one day.
Yeah, I wonder if they put it on the Blu-ray or something.
They gotta. That's a pretty heavy special featurette that I would want in a Blu-ray.
Yes. I would love to experience that again.
Hell yeah.
Data's lucky though in that he meets an attractive woman, a relatively attractive woman.
You gotta temper yourself.
Who right in front of Goshevin says that she's going to help Data convince the rest of the city to evacuate. And if you're getting cuckold vibes here, you would be correct.
Very Shakespearean.
The unfortunate fact, again, of time and budget constraints was that we had to cut a sizable, basically the entire portion of the cuckolding subplot, which Melinda wasn't happy about.
No.
That was pretty integral to this episode, the way it was originally written. And that's another thing I would have loved to see, but we ultimately didn't end up filming that. We got a couple of the scenes, like the one where Goshevin wistfully looks as Data walks away with his girlfriend, and that's about it. It's a shame.
In some ways, though, I'm happy that got cut. I wouldn't want to deal with the time on set where where Goshevin would have to act through the scenes that require him to, cry in front of the camera.
Emote.
Yeah, it just would have been too difficult. But what could have been? A lot of that cuckold subplot, I believe, was recycled for one of the films much later on. I don't quite recall which one it is, but it's the one where there's that whole colony or planet of like people that wear beige. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, one day. The audience knows. The audience.
I'm sure they do. They are Trek fans.
They are the diehard Trekkies. What can I say? They die hard.
They certainly die hard.
So, good lord. I like this episode, but I am really struggling to get through this. What happened? Data just...
There's a lot of...
Yeah?
Kind of, yeah, I think I know where you're going. There's a lot of Data running around trying to figure out what the best strategy is to get people to follow him and allow themselves to evacuate. Interspersed, there's, obviously, Geordi trying to fix the teleporter. Transporter. Riker yelling at Data to just figure it out. Picard trying to contact the... What are they called?
Shellyax.
The Shellyax. To allow them to have, a couple weeks to use whatever method to get these people off the planet, because their transporters aren't working, and even if they were, it would take like weeks to transport them all on board. And so here's a bit of a... Now, you know what? Well, I'll talk about that later. Eventually, we get into that public debate scene, right?
Which
I think is kind of the next real...
Is this where he tries reverse psychology?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and Data encountering the concept of reverse psychology was somewhat funny to me, because he just explains what it is. It's like advocating the adverse effect to get the desired outcome. Oh, like thanks, Data. But yeah, I like that scene. I liked it well enough. I like seeing Data speak publicly, be an orator of some sort.
Yeah.
It's nice, and he's not successful here. And when he isn't successful, he says, "Oh, I was trying reverse psychology," which was kind of funny.
Right.
But
yeah, it was a good performance. It was a good scene. I liked it. Even though in my notes I said, "God, this public debate scene is gay," and I'm not sure why I wrote that.
I don't know why you wrote that either.
There was something about it that bothered me, and I don't know what it is now.
Interesting. I mean, it could just be the grandiose way that Data spoke.
No, you know what? I think it was the way that that Data basically convinced no one.
Right. Well, he convinced them at first, and then Golshevin comes in and...
yeah, and says one word, and everyone goes back to him, which I found somewhat unbelievable.
Is that when he clapped? He clapped for Data?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of how that scene ended. But, you know, I guess we had time to fill, so we have to kind of do it all over again. They all go to that girl's house.
The scene kind of happens 3 times.
Yeah.
There, at that woman's house, where Data is attacked and taken out of commission, but really, not really, because he's just back instantly.
He's just, like, fainted.
Yeah. And at the end, at that pumping station. Which, all of these are more or less the same scene.
Pretty much, yeah. And I do like the final scene, and we'll get to it, but, yeah, the way it played out, it does feel very redundant.
It does. I think that's a clear problem with this script here. You could have several conflicts, but you didn't need to have them all play out more or less identically.
Right. I think, I mean, I don't know, they tried to shake it up by having Golshevin come in and try to kill Data, I guess. But
then that doesn't amount to anything.
There was no consequence, yeah, so it doesn't, like, the girl doesn't even help in any way. She just kind of sits there and waits for him to wake up.
That's her throughout the entire episode, really.
She kisses Data.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you love your cuckolding stuff, but calm down. It didn't add a lot to the episode. Now,
the writers loved giving Data, like, one episode romantic interests.
Yeah. And it's a weird dichotomy where they're so steadfast about the reality of Data. It's like, I don't have any feelings.
Right.
Which is fine. That's good. But when you stick so hard to that, why also introduce these one-off love interests when you know it doesn't really mean anything?
Because it's always the same.
Right. So, a little strange.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, on the Enterprise, Picard is trying to contact the...
Shellyak. What is wrong with you? It's the 3rd time.
And I don't remember their names. And he's with Troy in his Readier Room.
Yes,
and there's actually fish in his tank, for once.
Thank God, blessed fishmonger.
So the Shellyak agreed to have like a face-to-face conversation.
Yes,
and I have a few problems here.
Okay, lay it on me.
First of all, he beams aboard their ship, right?
No, I think he beams them aboard. Well, who's the he in this situation?
Picard beams aboard their ship.
Yes,
he doesn't beam them aboard.
Yeah, Picard beams aboard
how
their
does
ship.
How does the transporter work?
Well, they're not. They're beaming through space, whereas beaming down to the planet through the planet's irradiated atmosphere was the problem.
Oh, that's retarded. No, that's not it really quite, because I think it was Riker that commented as they approached the planet, their weapon systems were down and everything. I think the radiation
that's true.
extends into space.
That is
right?
true. So I mean, maybe they pulled out. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe they. I guess that's a possibility. But the fact that it wasn't addressed really bothered me.
Okay, that's fair.
Because part of the plot of this episode is to fix the transporter.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something. And they don't have to worry about it because the
Shellyak.
Shellyacs beam them back aboard themselves, back aboard the Enterprise themselves. Troy has some serious camel toe here.
Yeah, she does. I did notice that.
Yeah, like serious.
She fell victim to the onesie.
Yep. Wrote
Now,
up just a little too much.
I wrote down in my notes the line, "You do not discuss, you gibber," which tickled me. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a nice concept, but I felt this scene fell flat because the scene immediately preceding it was Troy telling him, "You have to speak very deliberately and specifically," and then he goes on board their ship and just yells platitudes at them.
And he gibbers.
And he does gibber, and it's like, what did you think was going to happen? And over the course of these 3 days, Picard only thinks to look at the treaty at the very last second?
Yeah, I took umbrage with that. That
right?
You would think that that's instantly where
that's the
anyone
first
would go.
thing you look at.
Because clearly, and I don't know if they outright say this, but clearly these are very litigiously minded people.
Yeah, they absolutely they do. Basically, I think Troy says that.
So
and
once that's the case, you gotta just turn to the way. Well, do what Troy says. The way that they communicate, speak deliberately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're looking at a dispute where a treaty is involved, you want to know that treaty pretty intimately so that you can figure out any loopholes that will buy you some time.
And of course, that's exactly what happens.
Right, but not until Picard seems to have spent the entire 3 days just sitting in a chair doing nothing.
Just yelling at people and do impossible things.
Yeah. yeah, basically.
I have a mission for you, and I don't want you to say it's impossible. Like, what?
It felt very, very... It felt like not a good representation of his character.
No, and it just as an episode, it feels a little runaround, like a little useless. What was the point of all this screen time? Sure.
Although, ultimately, Data's mission would have been somewhat the same. You still have to convince these people,
right.
Whether it takes 3 days or 3 weeks. So that's not too bad, I guess. Just that the tension was a little artificial.
Yes. Instead of making it like a ticking clock kind of thing, turn it into a more morality story of like moving these people off of their planet, whether or not they want to, convincing them.
Yeah, and you can do that at a relaxed pace. You don't need you almost never need the ticking clock.
Right. Now they did this in season 7 when
you love season 7.
I do love season 7. That episode where Wesley returns to shepherd a herd of American Indians off of their planet.
Oh my god, you love this episode in particular.
Yeah. Well, it's the return of the Traveler. It's the culmination of that fucking plotline. By the way, before we get off of this, that Shellyak puppet, just for everyone that knows at home, if you want to make your own.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful little prop.
It's just 3 garbage bags, a couple staples, and a low-powered fan, and you can have your own Shellyak.
Yeah. Really simple stuff, and it looks beautiful.
Right. A lot of it is lighting. It's a clear way that how television is lit can really color your impression of props, of scenes, of anything.
Yeah, we did a good job with that.
We did.
So Data wakes up and he realizes that he just suddenly decides that he's going to fix the phaser to work.
Yes.
In this radiated field or whatever.
Once he needed to do it, it became possible.
Right. It's really convenient that he's kind of made out of the same chips that need to be in the phaser to make it work.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you rather...
The line where she's like, "You're making the phaser smarter."
I don't remember that line. Is that a real line?
I probably paraphrased it to make it sound a little dumber, but it still sounded dumb. As a side note, we do get our first look at the Type 2 phaser here.
Yeah.
Which we started using this season, and we would go on to use, I think, for the rest of the seasons, right?
Yeah.
We made this one out of necessity. We had a little problem with the design patent filed by the Type 1's original creators. So we just figured, it would just be easier to make a new one, right? And I think it looks better, actually.
Doesn't look like a dustbuster anymore.
Right, it does not. It's got a little heft to it. It looks like a weapon instead of something you would use to unlock your car doors.
Something you would use to bust dust. But I like it. I like how the phasers evolve, the uniforms evolve, the tricorders evolve.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not into quadcorders. But...
Right. But, we can dream. Dare to dream.
Yeah, and then I guess we get to the conclusion where Data threatens to blow up and indeed inflict some damage upon the little canal thing they got going there. What's it called? The aqueduct?
Aqueduct.
Aqueduct.
Aqueduct. I can reduce this pumping station to a pile of rubble, says Data.
Very threatening.
Yes.
But it was cathartic to see that Data had finally figured out how to get these people to go along with his plan.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's good to see the hero succeed.
And I like that there was an evolution of like him naively expecting them to follow him when he first got there, and then he tries some mental tricks, and then finally he realizes, oh, I should just threaten to kill them.
Violence was the answer.
Violence was the answer.
I mean, I really like that too. Obviously, that's the core conflict of the episode, Data's evolution as a leader. And it pays off. It's a satisfying conclusion. I agree. It is innately funny to see Data threatening people, but it makes sense. Yeah,
it's logically consistent, which is more than can be said for a lot of Star Trek episodes.
Yes. Now, I don't even know where it's going with that. Now.
How now?
How now, Brown Data? I am liking this episode less the more we talk about it. So
really,
yeah.
What's bothering you so far?
The structural problems with the script, I would say. The redundancy of some of these Data scenes, the Picard's characterization, the frivolity of everything, basically everything on the Enterprise. It's just making me like the episode less.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Well, that's good. We started agreeing on it being pretty good, and now we agree that it's not.
I liked the disregarding Picard only looking at the treaty at the last second. I do like the last scene he has with the Sheilas.
The Sheliak.
Sheliaks. All right, we're getting there.
Closer, yes. Now, do you like him being I don't know, petty in that moment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I don't know if I was a big fan of it, but I didn't hate it. I
think it's because it is a situation that Picard is probably not used to dealing with, and it's he's getting kind of cold-shouldered and hung up on it and stuff like that. So it's nice to see him express that frustration.
It's a very human thing.
I liked when Riker's like, "Oh, you're enjoying this." He says, "You're damn right."
You're goddamn right.
Yeah, I like that.
Fair enough.
And then of course, all's well that ends well. Data leaves his girlfriend without saying goodbye, basically.
Yeah.
He kisses her and then autistically gets into the shuttle.
Well, the whole idea was that she would pine for Data. He would not return that affection,
Right.
and he would just kind of He would chat away.
Yeah, he would chat away.
Right. The producers were very clear on that. They wanted Data to be the Chad in that situation. Which
Right.
was a very prescient production note.
Yeah. And I think it did end up working. And well, here's my question: had Data developed to become a Chad? Because I feel like he felt more intimate affection for Yar.
That's true, and he did bang Yar.
A lot.
Yes. So, who knows, really?
Because he seemed like saddened by her death somehow.
By Yar's death? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which flies in opposition to the Data here, who says, I don't have feelings.
Right. Wait, you mean something in TNG is inconsistent across episodes?
Something from
What?
season 1? No way. Fuck season 1 and fuck season 1 people.
I guess, yeah.
Having thought about it, yeah, I guess.
I suppose so, but I still would have liked them to keep it a little bit more consistent than that.
No.
But then again, maybe it is she's just become a Chad.
I like to think of Data as a Chad. Yeah, I don't know. It's just he's cute. He can be chatty, Chad-worthy.
He's Chad-like.
Yes. When you operate so far above human emotion, I don't know. You got some Chadness in you.
Yeah, he could steal Neo's girlfriend.
Mother of God.
So there's that scene at the end.
What scene?
There's that scene at the end.
Go on.
Oh yeah, there's that scene at the end where Picard tells Data he listened to his performance.
Oh
Which is
yes,
cute.
yes. Okay, that's what it is. I completely fucking forgot. Jesus, but it wraps the episode up in a nice bow. And if I'm gonna hate on some structural issues we identified, I have to praise that as a structural positive. And it reinforces the theme. It's not just a callback. It has meaning to it.
Right. Don't call it a callback.
Right. I will never call it a callback. Unless it came to audition, in which case I would give it a callback.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. I whatever problems I identify, I really do like what this episode is about. Data struggling with leadership, coming to understand humanity in a new way via leadership. The slight parallel that has with his take on violining. Yeah, it all works.
Yeah. I do like most of it. So I don't think, I mean, as much as we talk about like, yeah, maybe we don't like it as much as we thought we did, I still don't dislike it.
No, I don't dislike it either. But, if I started at like, I don't know, 65%, maybe it's like a 60 or a 55.
Yeah.
You got any trivia for me?
Well, first of all, I gotta tell you this story, and it's not a joke.
But we've never told it. This is not a comedy podcast, sir. I know you're not joking.
Sometimes you like to throw out little quips every now and then.
Do you want a joke?
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
What do you call an alligator detective?
It's on the tip of my tongue, but what is it?
An investigator.
Oh. Huh. That's pretty good.
What does a farmer use to count his cows?
A counter.
A calculator.
A calculator. You satisfied?
I mean, I would have been more satisfied if you laughed.
Sorry. I'm sure the Ensigns laughed.
Yeah,
I've heard these all before.
that's true. That's true. That is true. Anyway, what do you got for me? What's your story that's not a joke?
So this is for the Ensigns. We played a little prank on Will this episode. Well, this season, really. So in between the hiatus between season 2 and 3, you may or may not remember, this was kind of off our radar for the most part, but Will was cast in this film called Valmont, and he was supposed to be filming in Paris between seasons 2 and 3, right? And it would have been totally fine, as long as everything was on schedule and they didn't have to reshoot anything or things didn't kind of go over the allotted time, right? Now Rick, however, calls Will's agent and says he can't do this movie. Probably thinking, what if something does happen and Will's not available for filming once we start,
right?
And he says, I've got the first episode we're filming is a very Wesley-centric episode. And so he convinces Will's agent that Will cannot do this movie. He has to get off it and be available for shooting immediately once it starts. So he does that. And so Will comes in and you should have seen his face when he realized he had one line in the first episode. And it was not Wesley-centric at all, by any stretch of the imagination. So he had given up a film, to have one line in the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3. And you remember we had started taking to calling him Movie Star?
Yes.
Like, hey, Movie Star. That's why. And he would just seethe so hard. He'd get red in the face and start kind of like punching himself. Whenever you'd call him that, right? You'd walk by him in the hall, he'd start screaming. Yeah, that's why. And here's my theory. I'm wondering if this was called Ensigns of Command in effort to make Will think that it was going to be about him.
That's so good. Now, I'm sorry. I'm beside myself. I'm very, very into this. Very, very, very good times for most of us. For 99% of the world's population, this is a good memory, good story. Frakes was the most relentless about this, as he always is. But big shot, movie star. Where's the Oscar, my friend? All the time.
Yes, it really carried us through season 3. It's one of those things that it was kind of the cherry on top of how well we were doing with this series. Like the wheels had been set in motion. We were just riding it out, having a blast. It's just absolutely hilarious. Also the Dalai Lama guys visited us. You remember that?
I do.
While we were filming this episode?
Yeah, minus one, but yes.
Minus the Dalai Lama himself, but yeah, they were big TNG fans. I didn't even know they had TVs in Tibet.
Right.
But this was a big one for you and me, Mitch, because we were scrambling for days trying to get the catering down. Right?
That was one of our biggest jobs. I mean, at the time, we didn't know they would be -1, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't think we would have cared quite as much, but it was probably one of our most stressful moments working on this show. But in the end, we decided to go with takeout from Shanghai Garden down the street. Just given that Tibet is the rightful property of the People's Republic of China.
We wanted them to feel at home.
We thought that would be. Yeah, absolutely. And, well, it was food.
I mean, just as we started this episode with, sometimes the crab rangoons you, and sometimes you rangoon the crab.
Mm-hmm. And much like this episode, we have tied it up in a nice little bow.
Indeed. The Ensigns of Command.
The Ensigns of the Readier Room.
The N-words of Command.
All right, so I did have something for you, and I have to find it now.
Are we going back to the comic?
No. All right, so Picard nominates the Grisellas to mediate, right?
Yes, he does. You remember them, you don't remember Sheliak.
Oh God, I could have remembered celiac just by celiac disease.
Yeah.
Celiac disease. Yeah, so Picard nominates the Grisellas, and we haven't seen the Grisellas yet. My question to you is, what season do the Grisellas actually show up in?
Oh, goodness. Now they're not the Mick Fleetwood fish people, right?
No.
Okay.
No, they hibernate for 6 months. I think they're just named after grizzly bears.
Grisellas. The Grisellas sounds like a Riot Girl band. So what season?
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep it as broad as possible.
That's fair. If it's season 7, I'm going to be very embarrassed. But I'm not going to say season 7. I'm going to say season 5.
Season 5.
Yeah.
It was actually a trick question. They never show up.
Why would you do this to me?
Sometimes you think outside the box. I don't know.
Sometimes I do. Today I'm sick. I'm vulnerable. I stayed in the box.
Yeah, I guess I should have given you a question in good faith since you're sick. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But do they show up in the Apocrypha?
I don't think they do. I was trying to find pictures of them.
You gotta be kidding me.
Exist.
This is a race mentioned by name on TNG, and there's not a main character of that race in Lower Decks. Are you kidding me?
Right. Hold on, let's see.
Oh, it's Ensign Grisella. Fuck off.
Yeah, dude, no one's even tried to depict the Grisellas in anything.
Well, good, I guess, but damn. That's the most obvious TNG well you could revisit.
For that matter, why have the Sheliaks never shown up again, considering how advanced they are?
It's a good question.
Could they fight the Borg?
What, with their litigation?
They're inorganic, and they can apparently raise an entire planet from space. It sounds like the Federation should have brokered some kind of deal with them.
There was too much gibbering for that deal to work. You do not discuss. You gibber. At some point in the episode, I just have my notes here. I want to touch on this. Picard says "thee" and "me." I don't really get that.
Thee and me.
Thee and me. Here's another question. Just
20 thee and me
from my notes. Do you take any umbrage with the Sheliaks using the term Earth days?
Do they use it?
Yeah, they said you have 3 Earth days to remove the humans.
No, first they just said 3 days.
They used the phrase Earth days.
I don't remember that, but if they do, then it was inconsistent because they say 3 days one time and then 3 Earth days the next. And yeah, I take umbrage with it either way. You have 3 of your Earth days. I am an alien.
What did that Ferengi say? 3 of your hours?
Something like that, yeah. Say, shut up, dude. How do you measure the day then? Because there's an objectivity to it. I mean, I guess they come from different planets.
Well, that's what a day is, right? It's a revolution. One complete revolution. Or rotation? Rotation. Yeah. A year is a revolution. But
a Nintendo revolution.
In actuality, the idea of really kind of interplanetary communication using a day as anything is kind of meaningless.
It's a little silly,
right? Yeah, time. Our idea of time is based around the planet's the planet and its relation to the sun.
Yeah.
So taking that idea of time into space inherently does not work.
Sure, yeah. You would think that there would be some kind of standard measure of time that everyone would start using.
Right.
Maybe the Ferengi are rebels. Maybe they don't want to use it.
we'll use your minutes for this. You're not worthy of our minutes.
I don't know. There's something to it though that really just rubs me the wrong way.
I agree.
And I'm too stupid to be able to articulate it.
I'm just too fucking sick. That's my excuse.
Well, I hope you get better, Mitch.
I won't. This is it for me.
Well, you had a good run.
Thank you.
The Readier Room is in good hands. Don't worry.
Alright, don't replace me with some fucking Jew. That'll do it for this episode of the Readier Room. Be sure to join us next week, where I may or may not make an appearance, depending on my mortality status. And a quick shout out to our sponsors. This week we are sponsored by Santa Claus. Ho, 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 happy holidays, says Santa. And next week we'll be tackling another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which by this point is just the current generation, but I hope you're all excited for that. I know I am. And until then, everybody, please stay ready.
The troublesome little man-child.
I stand before you defrocked, condemned to be a member of this lowest of species.
Thank you, Ensign. Engage.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
But I stroked the beard thusly. Do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer, freeze program.
Have you never dreamed of climbing inside the bottle?